It was just another school night in our quiet suburban home. I opened my 8-year-old son's homework folder expecting spelling tests. Instead, I found a folded note, and in seconds, my world tilted. What it revealed would shatter everything I thought I knew. I'm Daniel Carter, 36 years old, a project manager living in a quiet part of Columbus, Ohio, with my wife Megan and our 8-year-old son, Liam. To the outside world, we look like any middle-class American family. 2 working parents, a modest brick house, and a kid who loves soccer and science experiments. I work long days downtown, but every evening I try to be home in time for dinner, homework, and bedtime stories. It's a routine that grounds me, a rhythm I've come to trust. That evening felt completely normal. The sun was slipping behind the maples lining our street. Megan was finishing up an online meeting in her home office while Liam sat at the kitchen table with his crayons and math sheets. I remember hanging up my jacket, loosening my tie, and thinking how grateful I was for these ordinary moments. No drama, no secrets, just family. After dinner, as always, I went through Liam's backpack. He's bright but forgetful, and his teacher sometimes sends notes about missing assignments or permission slips. I pulled out the usual stack: reading log, spelling test, a flyer about the spring fair. Then I noticed something different. A small, neatly folded sheet tucked into the back of his homework folder. It wasn't the teacher's usual form letter or Liam's handwriting. It looked deliberate, almost hidden. At first, I thought it might be an invitation or a note from a classmate. But as I unfolded the paper, a strange chill ran down my arms. Inside, in tidy adult script, were just a few lines. Lines that mentioned me by name, Megan by name, and Liam in a context that made my stomach tighten. I won't reveal the whole message yet, but in that instant it felt like the air in our kitchen had shifted. The refrigerator's hum grew louder, and Liam's pencil scratching on his worksheet sounded far away. I slipped the note back into the folder and forced myself to smile at Liam. "How was math tonight, buddy?" I asked, my voice tight but even. He didn't notice. Kids rarely do. My hands, though, were trembling. For years, I'd believed our little family was straightforward, predictable. But here, written on a folded piece of paper, was proof that something was very wrong. As Megan walked in to pour herself coffee, I slid the folder under a pile of mail. My heart raced as I wondered who wrote it, why it was hidden in my son's folder, and how long this had been going on. 100 questions pounded at once. But one thing became clear. I couldn't just ignore it. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a clue, maybe the only clue, to a secret someone had been keeping from me. That night I lay awake listening to the house settle, my mind replaying the note over and over. I didn't yet know the full story, but I sensed that my life, and my son's life, had just crossed a line we could never uncross. That night, after Megan and Liam were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with the folded note in front of me. The handwriting was calm, deliberate, no rushed scribble. It said my name, Megan's name, and Liam's name, and hinted at something he deserves to know before it's too late. No sender, no signature, but the phrasing made it clear. Whoever wrote this knew us personally. I felt my heart thud as I read it again. I'd always thought of myself as careful and logical. But at that moment, 1,000 paranoid scenarios crashed through my head. Was this a warning about Liam's safety? A secret from Megan's past? Something about the school? The next morning, I forced normalcy. Packed Liam's lunch. Kissed Megan goodbye. But inside, I was scanning for clues. Tone of voice, her eyes, the way she avoided looking at me. At work, I couldn't focus. My mind replayed the note like a looping alarm. That afternoon, when I picked Liam up, I made small talk with his teacher, Mrs. Hendricks. She seemed cheerful, no hint that anything was wrong. As we walked to the car, Liam chattered about a science experiment. I kept nodding, but my eyes drifted to other parents in the parking lot. Was someone watching us? That evening, after Liam went to bed, I began to investigate quietly. First, the obvious, the school. I checked emails from the principal, newsletters, and any mention of notes home. Nothing. Then I went through the homework folder again. No other strange papers. By the second night, I decided to take a risk. I asked Megan casually, "Hey, did you put any notes in Liam's folder? Someone slipped one in there." She frowned and shook her head. "No, what are you talking about?" Her surprise looked genuine, but I couldn't be sure. I started keeping a journal of everything. Who Liam saw after school, who Megan texted, who we spoke to at pickup. I even discreetly checked Liam's tablet for messages, just in case. Days passed and my anxiety mounted. Nothing in our normal routine seemed different, but the note's warning gnawed at me. Then, a small break. One of Liam's classmates' parents mentioned at the playground. "Your wife has been spending a lot of time volunteering with Mr. Clark lately, hasn't she?" Mr. Clark, Liam's guidance counselor. I felt my stomach drop. Megan had never mentioned volunteering at school, let alone with a counselor. That night, when Megan went for a late grocery run, I called the school's general line and left a vague message for Mr. Clark, asking about a note I'd received. The next morning, before classes began, he called me back. His tone was careful. "Mr. Carter, I'm not sure how much I can say, but I think you and your wife should talk. Sometimes things come out in ways we don't expect." It wasn't an admission, but it was enough to tell me this wasn't random. Someone at the school, maybe Mr. Clark himself, had slipped the note in Liam's folder. And it had to do with Megan. I decided to dig deeper. Using public records, I looked up Mr. Clark, his volunteer rosters, and Megan's recent consulting invoices. Patterns emerged. She'd been visiting the school far more often than she told me, even during her work hours. Meanwhile, I played my part at home. I cooked dinner, helped Liam with homework, acted like nothing was wrong. Megan, for her part, seemed increasingly distracted, scrolling her phone at night, slipping away to make calls. I began building a plan. If this note was warning me, I needed to know exactly what secret it hinted at before confronting her. I reached out to a friend who worked in family law, someone discreet, to ask about custody, about what rights I had if something was endangering Liam. She didn't press for details, but her calm voice steadied me. "Document everything. Don't act until you know." As the week went on, I felt like I was living in two worlds. The outwardly normal dad reading bedtime stories and the inwardly frantic investigator piecing together a puzzle. Every smile from Megan felt like a mask. Every text notification on her phone was a hidden door I couldn't open, and yet, under the fear, a quiet determination took hold. If someone at the school risked slipping that note to me, it meant they thought I was the one who could protect Liam. Whatever was coming, I wasn't going to let my son be blindsided. By the end of that week, my journal was thick with times, dates, and observations. My lawyer friend had lined up a private investigator who specialized in school-related custody disputes. And I had decided, the next time Megan volunteered at school, I'd follow her. I needed the truth, not rumors, not cryptic notes, before the situation exploded. The tension inside me felt like a coiled spring. I was terrified of what I might find, but even more terrified of doing nothing. That folded piece of paper had turned my quiet life upside down. Now every move was part of a silent countdown to a revelation I couldn't yet see, but could feel coming closer with each passing. Saturday came and Megan told me she'd be helping with a special reading program at school. TNC kissed her goodbye and waited 5 minutes before following her car. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. The private investigator I'd hired was already parked a block from the school. He'd agreed to stay out of sight but text me if anything unusual happened. From the driver's seat, I watched Megan pull into the faculty parking lot. Instead of heading to the main entrance, she went around the back, toward the guidance office. Moments later, Mr. Clark appeared at the door, ushering her inside quickly. My heart hammered. Whatever this was, it wasn't normal volunteering. I forced myself to breathe, grabbed my phone, and began recording video. Through the window blinds, I could see Megan sitting across from Mr. Clark. Papers lay between them. She was crying. Mr. Clark handed her a sealed envelope and gestured to a small safe in the corner of the office. Megan nodded, wiping her face. A notification buzzed on my phone. The investigator. He's handing her adoption forms. Adoption forms? My stomach lurched. I had no idea what that meant. I waited until they left the office separately, then walked straight in, adrenaline drowning out my fear. Mr. Clark startled when he saw me. "Mr. Carter, I found the note in Liam's folder," I said, voice shaking. "Tell me what's going on, now." He hesitated, then closed the door. "Your wife asked me to help her. She's been trying to gather the courage to tell you. Liam is not biologically yours. She thought she'd never be able to have children, and years ago she made an arrangement with an old friend. She's terrified you'll leave if you know." The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk. "Why the note?" "I didn't write it," he said quickly. "One of our staff overheard a conversation and believed you deserved to know. It was slipped into the folder without Megan's consent." Shock and betrayal collided inside me, but also clarity. The warning hadn't been about danger to Liam. It had been about a truth Megan couldn't speak. I left the office before Megan returned. Outside, leaning against my car, I watched her walk to hers, clutching the envelope. For a moment, she looked like the woman I married, fragile and human, not an enemy. That night, after Liam was asleep, I laid the note between us on the kitchen table. "I know," I said quietly. Megan froze, then crumpled into tears. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "I just didn't know how. The world I thought I knew had collapsed in a single week." But as I watched her sobbing and thought of the boy sleeping upstairs who called me Dad, a strange calm came over me. The secret had changed everything, but it also gave me a choice about what kind of father and husband I wanted to be next. The kitchen felt impossibly quiet after Megan's confession. Only the hum of the refrigerator filled the space. She sat across from me, eyes red and swollen, twisting a tissue in her hands. I stared at the note, its edges curled from being handled so many times, and thought about the years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, and soccer games. None of that was fake. Liam was mine in every way that mattered. "I should have told you the truth from the start," Megan whispered. "I thought I'd lose you, and then each year it got harder. Liam adores you. I didn't want to destroy that." I took a long breath. My anger was real, but so was the love I felt for the boy upstairs. "You didn't destroy it," I said slowly. "You lied to me, and that hurts. But Liam is my son. That isn't negotiable." Megan's shoulders slumped. "What happens now?" "We stopped keeping secrets," I said. "I want to know everything about the arrangement, who his biological father is, why you felt you couldn't tell me, and then we'll figure out how to explain things to Liam in a way that won't break him." For the first time that night, she nodded, a flicker of relief crossing her face. We sat there for hours, talking. The story she told was messy and painful, but it was also filled with the kind of desperation that comes from wanting a family at any cost. I didn't excuse her choices, but I understood them better. In the following weeks, I set boundaries. We began marriage counseling. We contacted a family therapist about how and when to share the truth with Liam. I reached out to a lawyer to make sure my parental rights were legally protected. Those steps weren't about punishment. They were about making sure our son's life stayed stable, no matter what. Through it all, Liam remained blissfully unaware. He still raced to greet me at the door, still asked me to read him his favorite dinosaur book at bedtime. Each night when he hugged me, I felt a surge of certainty. Biology had nothing to do with the bond we'd built. Months later, Megan and I sat side by side at Liam's school open house. Mr. Clark gave me a small, understanding nod from across the room. The secret that had once felt like an earthquake now felt like a turning point. We had survived it. Scarred, but standing. That night, as I tucked Liam into bed, he looked up at me and said, "Daddy, are you proud of me?" I swallowed hard. "Always, buddy. Always." Walking out of his room, I realized the note in the homework folder hadn't just exposed a secret. It had forced me to confront what really mattered. And in that confrontation, I chose to stay, to rebuild, and to be the father Liam already believed I was.